after the relationship with the narcissist, I kind of jumped from one relationship to another. And it wasn't, and I was looking for that kind of feeling loved.
Join the club.
Yeah, exactly. And they were always ending up in bad ways. Wonder why.
I'm so excited to be talking today to Katarina Esko. She is a high vibe coach from Finland, and we met on Instagram. Katarina has been sharing some tips and strategies from her work with herself and with clients on how to have a healthy and happy life, and also on healing from narcissistic abuse. She's about to launch her book all about healing the self from a narcissistic relationship. And I'm so excited for when this becomes available to the world. So I want to welcome today Katarina.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited. We've
My
been talking
pleasure.
about this for a while, and now it's happening.
We've been talking about having some kind of conversation, and then recently, actually, I've had this idea for a long time to really start to get into what a healthy relationship is and kind of paint the picture of that, so that I know from my experience on the healing journey, I think many of us get to a certain point where we're like, okay, I know that a relationship with a narcissist is unhealthy, but I don't know what a healthy relationship would look like or how to bring that into my life. Like there's this kind of disconnect. So really looking to touch on that in our conversation today.
Definitely, yes.
Awesome. So just to start off, can you tell us a bit about your experience and the book you have written or are about to release?
Sure. Well, I was in a narcissistic or in a relationship with a narcissist. It ended about 10 years ago or 15 years ago. And so I was quite young at the time. And I kind of just got into the relationship. I felt really loved, and it was very much the story that you usually hear when about these kind of relationships. It was beautiful in the beginning, but then it started going sour and went really slowly and so gradually towards an unhealthy relationship that I wasn't really able to understand what was happening, or I got used to it all the time. And my friends kind of knew what was happening. They knew that it was unhealthy, but I kept making kind of these excuses, and I was reasoning the things that were happening to myself, and kind of thinking that, well, he's just this way because I know that he still loves me. And that was kind of what was really important for me all the time, that feeling of being loved. And since I knew that he was able to give me that kind of feeling in the beginning, I was kind of looking for that throughout the relationship, even though he was unable to do that as we went along.
I see.
So when that was over, that relationship was over, I was completely broken. I didn't have my own identity. I didn't have my own opinions. I didn't really know what to do with my life, and it took me a very long time to pull myself together and to start living a happier life and to fix my relationships and all of that. And it was very difficult I didn't really have guidance. I went to therapy, but the therapists didn't really understand what it is like to be in this kind of relationship. And that was kind of difficult. Yeah. So when I kind of figured everything out and I started living, I started rebuilding my life and everything was going fine and I was feeling happy. And my relationships were kind of more healthy. I understood that there are so many things that you don't understand, or maybe many therapists don't understand, or you just don't have access to that information. So I decided that, okay, I'll just have to write a book about this. I know there are a lot of books about this, but then maybe there is somebody who needs to hear what I have to say. So I decided I'll just write it out. And it's been actually a quite good process for myself as well, as I've been writing about these experiences and how to kind of move along and how to heal. It has made me realize that this is kind of, I have completely healed and I no longer want to talk about it as much, kind of.
I see.
I want to move on to, I don't want it to be defining my life anymore in any way.
It's like you're closing the chapter on that period of your life.
Yeah.
It's done.
Exactly.
It's over.
So it's so strange. Yeah, sorry.
It's so strange.
It's so strange how I know that all of those bad things that were happening in that relationship, they did happen to me, but I know that they happened to me. I just don't really tap into that anymore. I kind of like, it feels like a different life.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, if you've already tapped into it, you don't need to tap into it anymore.
Yeah, I guess.
There's only so much tapping into, negative experience that's necessary for us. So.
Yeah. But I think it's amazing that there are people like you and yourself who understand what that abuse is like, and then you have the strength to help others. I don't have that strength, but you do, and I think it's amazing.
But you are helping others.
Well, maybe. I guess that the book is maybe that's what the book is about. It's like.
And I actually asked you, where is the book going to be available? And I was quite surprised with your response. How will people be able to get hold of a copy of the book?
I haven't figured that out yet.
Okay. But you said to me it was going to be completely free.
Yeah, I'm gonna make it free, definitely, because that's the information that I want people to have and not have to think about whether they want to spend money on it or not. So I'll probably share it through my Instagram somehow, through a link or something.
Yeah.
I haven't figured that out yet.
Well, that's really incredible.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that your friends, they'd at some point they clocked on that this wasn't a healthy relationship. At what point did you begin to realize that what you was in wasn't really a loving relationship?
Well, it was kind of dramatic. There were so many things going on, and I didn't understand that this is wrong until we decided that we will get married. And 2 days after that, my doctor called me and said that, well, you have an STI. Oh. And I said that's impossible. And he said, well, you do. So that's when I realized that he had no respect for me, or he didn't really care about my health or my well-being. And that was kind of a low blow, since he knew that I really, really, really wanted to have children, and this could be affecting that situation. So that was kind of that was that moment that I realized that this isn't normal behavior from a loving person.
suddenly you could see from that experience.
Yeah.
Did you connect the dots at that point or sometime afterwards that, hang on a minute, now I can see the rest of the relationship, that there was some issues here and there?
No, I think I realized everything a lot after.
Okay.
The breakup took a very long time because he kept calling me that he's sitting there at home alone with a gun and he's going to end it all. And I felt so responsible. And now I know I should have called the emergency number, and he would have probably stopped doing that. But I was young and I felt responsible for breaking up with him and for his sadness and all of that. And I was so afraid of him actually going through with that I kind of kept in contact with him for a year or something like that. But then he found somebody else to hang out with, and I realized that, okay, I don't need to take care of him anymore. He has somebody else.
He has a new babysitter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's when the healing really begun.
That's a huge amount of responsibility that he, you know, tried to give you, and you felt that you had for his entire, you know, life and well-being. And it's such an important point, that if someone does experience that, they can make a call to the police and they will go and do a welfare check on somebody.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure that, you know, regardless of someone's intentions of making that call, that is going to be the right thing to do either way. You know, it will get them the help they need, or they're going to stop crying wolf and making that call if it is just, you know, a call to reel you back in. Yeah. So during this relationship and maybe in the aftermath, did you notice how this relationship affected your other relationships?
Do you mean during that relationship?
Yeah.
My relationship with friends and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was trying to, he was isolating me from everyone, from my friends.
Okay.
And he was very jealous of me just going to work and hanging out with my mates there. So when we broke up, I didn't really have anything. I had my job and I was studying at the time. So I had that, and I had my own home. So I had that, and I had my sister and I had that. But that's pretty much everything I had. I owed him a lot of money. So I had to work that off. And then I started to work on repairing my friendships, because there were obviously a lot of problems with my friends who were trying to tell me what the situation was, but I didn't believe them. And then I would just shut them off because he was telling me that they're just being mean and stuff and you shouldn't hang out with them. And he was turning it all in his own favor.
I see. Yeah, so it was really affecting your relationships with your friends.
Yeah, definitely.
So what did you then do to heal from that relationship? What did your healing look like?
My healing took a very long time, in my own opinion. First, I was so tired. I was just sleeping, and I was studying and going to work and just going with a tunnel vision from one day to another. And then when things kind of started to calm down and I had been resting and sleeping and kind of, you know, preparing my relationships a little bit with my friends and hanging out with them, I started kind of understanding that it's my choice to do whatever I want with my life, and it's my that's the responsibility that I'm allowed to take over my own life. And I started figuring out what are those things that I like to do, and I started doing more of that. And they were very, very simple, because I had been taught in that relationship that I am worth nothing, and spending even like €1 on myself is just waste of money. So I had to kind of change that mindset and understand that I have to be the best friend for myself and to myself. And that was kind of what I started working on. And when I started thinking about all those things that make me happy and bring me joy and things that I want to do, I kind of started rebuilding my identity and finding out who I am in the process. And it took a while, but I think that when I started treating myself well, I started treating other people as well better. And my relationships with other people, my friends and my family, kind of improved over time as I was improving the relationship with myself.
Right, that's interesting.
Yeah, I think that's a very important thing to start with, is just working on yourself and not trying to find another relationship where you feel loved. You have to kind of find that love from within you, so that you can kind of expect that love from others as well, and you won't fall into this kind of disrespectful relationship anymore.
Yeah, definitely. I think we really we set an example to others on how to treat us by the way that we are treating ourselves.
Definitely.
Yeah. I think it is a real big struggle on giving yourself permission to even do, basic self-care, and then just taking that time for yourself. But, like you've realized, when you do that, it really does change things.
It does. And it changes your whole life, because it changes your relationships. And the more, and I realized the more that I listen to myself and my feelings, what feels good and what doesn't, the more I go towards that good feeling, the better I feel about everything, the happier I become about my life. And I think that's really hard to learn after you've been in that kind of abusive relationship where you are told that you are worth nothing and your happiness isn't anything to anyone. Nobody cares about it. All you have to do is make other people happy. And I think that's very difficult to learn. That was difficult for me to learn, to stop pleasing others. And I think that's one of those things that I still have to look out for in my relationships, that I demand that respect also from others, that I give to others. So me not pleasing others is something I have to really, really focus on. Like, I understand that my happiness is important and other people's happiness is important, but my happiness is my responsibility and other people's happiness is their responsibility. And we all have to kind of work on the boundaries that we set for ourselves and others ourselves. Yeah,
that makes sense. I think it's, once you've identified that, it's always good to have reminders, and it can just be a work in progress.
Yeah, I mean, I think the first relationships I got into after that abusive relationship, I was kind of disappointed that it wasn't perfect, because I thought that I had healed, so there is no problem anymore. But it doesn't really work that way. We are so complex, and it's so easy to fall into those old patterns that you've created in those kind of abusive relationships, that you really have to watch out kind of all the time, or not watch out, but be aware of your own behaviors, and just remember to listen to those emotions and feelings, like, does this feel good to me that I'm doing this, or is this crossing my own boundary? So even though I've healed, And I know that those people that I'm dating, they are good people, and they want the best for me, and I want the best for them. But still, there's this possibility that I am trying to please them and just forgetting about my own needs to have their needs met. So it's a constant kind of, not a battle, but kind of like you have to stay vigilant and aware of all of those patterns that you've created for yourself.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned those questions as well that you asked yourself, like, you know, how does that feel for me? And, you know, being aware of how much you're giving in a relationship as well, because if you have that tendency to be an overgiver, then it can be so easy to just slip back into doing that.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, I used to remind myself of things like that in the shower, because it's that moment where you've actually got a bit of time, you know, just to yourself. Especially if you're in a relationship and you're living with the other person, you tend to shower alone, and it's really a time where you can connect to yourself and go, okay, like, am I remembering myself in this relationship? And how do I feel?
That's a really good tip, actually.
Yeah.
Because you do it every day, probably. Well, I do it every day.
Hopefully.
And then you just stay there, and it's kind of calming situation anyhow. So that's a very good tip, I think.
Yeah. It was interesting to me that you said that your relationship with other people improved as you know, began to live your more authentic self. Because you were nicer to other people, because you know, if you relate to putting other people first, then in that dynamic you're already being, you know, nice to other people, maybe too nice to other people. So in what way were you able to be like a better friend in those relationships?
Well, I think some of my relationships, I kind of had to look at my relationships again, like reevaluate them, whether they were kind of balanced to me or not, and had to let go of those people who were trying to just take advantage of me. And there were people, obviously. And then when I realized, okay, these are good people, and these are the people who have stayed with me and who support me, I was trying to be nice and respectful, and also setting clear boundaries of what is okay with me and what is not, and understanding that if something isn't working for them, then maybe I should just let that go, whatever. Like very simple things, like trying to figure out when we should go out for coffee or whatever, things like that. It could be something like, and they were like, they have a problem deciding, and then I would just like, well, okay, just let me know when you're good to go, and not try to bend over backwards to make my schedule fit theirs. Having respect for my own schedule and also theirs, and then seeing how that works together. I think that was one of the biggest problems that I had, that I didn't realize I had, how deeply I felt the need to please other people, and to bend over backwards just to fit whatever they needed. So showing them what is okay and what is not made those relationships better, because then they were also able to show me what is okay and what is not. Because obviously sometimes I was also crossing those boundaries and lines that they were setting up for these kind of relationships.
I see. And it sounds like by doing that, you were then able to really observe, okay, well, who in my life is able to respond to these boundaries and my preferences and needs, and who isn't able to respond, and then choose from there.
Yeah, exactly. And it sounds kind of harsh. A lot of people say that it sounds harsh when I say that those people, I just had to cut them off. But the thing is that you have to do it for yourself and also for them. If a relationship with a friend of mine caused a lot of bad energy and a lot of bad feeling for the both of us, then maybe it's time for us to part our ways and to grow on our own. And then maybe at some point we can find each other and find some happier place to be. But with just keeping people in your life because you're afraid to let them go is not a good idea either.
Yeah, it's a good point actually, because for me, if we think about what we would want in our relationships, I wouldn't want someone to bend over backwards to meet a coffee date with me, or to, you know, whatever it is, spend 5 hours on the telephone to me if that it was annoying them, or they didn't want to, or, you know, it was just inconvenient and not the right time. I would much rather know. And so it's like, well, we have to do the same, you know, it works both ways.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's have a look. So I think you've already answered the question about, you know, did you notice whether you had any unhealthy patterns within yourself that you brought already with you into the relationship with the narcissist?
Yeah, definitely. That need to please others, and that kind of desperate need to be loved by someone else. So those were kind of those kind of needs that just led to these patterns of me bending over backwards. And that was definitely I'm pretty sure that that person, that narcissist, knew that I was that kind of person that would do that, and that's why he targeted me, or he was drawn to me, or I don't know how that really works, but that's why we ended up in a relationship. And I remember when I first met him, I really felt like I really want to be with this person. So in the beginning it was working fine, but then those patterns, when I started kind of struggling with that kind of suppressing my own self in the relationship, was kind of causing me the problems. And of course his abuse was causing me problems as well. Yeah,
I see. So you've sort of spoken a bit about how you've been able to heal the, you know, need to people please and, you know, go over and above all the time for someone else. Was there anything else that you feel you did that helped you to stop sort of craving that love?
Yeah, definitely. I stopped seeking validation from outside of me, and just understood that I am a beautiful person, and I am worth love, and I am an amazing person, and I have a lot to give to this world. And that was kind of when I realized this, like when I accepted it as a fact, that we are all here such amazing people, and we all have so much to give, and we all have our unique way of contributing to this world. I kind of understood that I don't need anyone else's validation, and I don't need to compare myself to anyone else, because we are so amazing in our unique ways. So it's not even possible to compare, since we are unique.
Yeah, there's only one of you.
Yeah, so that was kind of something that when I understood, I really realized that I don't have to beg for anyone else's love, because I have all the love in my life. And it was I've always had the love of my family as well, which is amazing. So when I realized I had been closing my eyes from all of that, and realized that love doesn't have to look a certain way. It doesn't have to be a man in my life who is providing me with love. I just have to open my eyes and see that my family, my niece and my nephew, how much they love me, and realizing that kind of that amount of love just made me feel relaxed and understand that I have everything I need. I don't have to go begging for any of it. That was kind of it.
Yeah, that's so amazing to see where we do have love in our life, or just connect with that feeling, even if, you know, we're alone in that moment, maybe we're isolated from other people, but still connecting to that feeling of, I used to do a similar thing to you. I would think to myself when I was first trying to heal from the heartbreak, well, if this happened to anyone else, then they would absolutely deserve to heal from this. And so if they deserved it, then I deserve it, doing a little bit of reverse psychology. And, you know, it sounds like you did that around, you know, really accepting yourself and loving yourself and realizing that we're all unique and special. So if we're all unique and special, then that includes you as well, because there's only one of you.
Exactly. And then I realized also that a lot of those kind of thought patterns that I had, like speaking negatively about myself and stuff like that, they were actually learned behavior, and I could learn a new, better behavior. And I kept thinking, like, what's more productive for me, to start the day by looking at all my mistakes and whatever is wrong with me in my body or whatever, or start the day by, you know, just saying you are going to have a fantastic day, you're a fantastic person, and you're going to meet fantastic people, and I'm just lucky to be here today. So I started, at first, when I started doing that, it sounded so ridiculous. Like, why would I do this? But I just thought, okay, it has to work, because I have to, my brains just work that way, that you have to kind of keep repeating stuff for it to become natural. And I kept doing it, and I kept doing it, just telling myself that I am beautiful, I'm amazing, I'm intelligent. And then I started kind of believing it as well, and started my days a little bit better than that, just looking in the mirror, just searching for mistakes. It's just, I don't understand why we are taught to do that.
It's a good marketing ploy.
Yeah, that's true.
Buy this and you won't do that anymore, but yet we still do that, so then we just need to go and buy more.
That's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
What was I going to say? Oh yeah, it's just like the years, literal years of being programmed to have negative self-talk. And, you know, you could say one thing in the mirror and, you know, you don't really feel the effect necessarily. But if you just think how many times you're repeating the same things over and over again, like the damage that is doing to your body and your brain and your perception of yourself.
Yeah.
So you have to start somewhere, hey? Where did you get the idea to do that?
I don't know. I guess I was reading so many books about stuff and how to heal and how to live happier, and most of it sounded so ridiculous at the time. But now I understand, because I was really, really sure that I am a depressed person, and I am meant to live in sadness and in pain and in anger, and the universe is against me and things like this. So it was very difficult for me to understand. Actually, a friend of mine said to me, we were going out in Helsinki one night, and then something happened and I started crying, and I was like, why does this always happen to me? And he goes, the universe isn't against you. this was just a one-time event or something like this. And I started thinking like, what do you mean universe isn't against me? I feel like it is. But then I started thinking, okay, universe isn't against this person here that I'm talking to. Why is it against me? And I realized it's not the universe, it's myself. It's my negative self-talk and my kind of belief in the negative, and my kind of that mindset where you look for things that are negative rather than things that are positive.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I was reading books, and things just kind of started making sense more and more and more. And I think it's amazing now that there is all this social media where you can find people who have been through this and who see that and who have healed. And then you can just kind of go and follow what they're doing and just feel like their vibration and their energy. There are a lot of people who want to stay in that victim mindset, and we are victims, but it doesn't have to define who we are and the rest of our lives. So it's better to kind of, that's kind of how I felt at one point, that I have to let go of that part of my life as the definition of who I am, and just define myself again. And I decided that I am a happy person and I want to spread joy. And then I started seeking kind of ways to do that, and started surrounding myself with that kind of social media where everything is positive and beautiful and kind of supportive of one another.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and things are always, change is very difficult. Like, it's always going to be difficult or feel weird at the beginning. But I think once you start and you kind of get used to it, then it begins to snowball and you'll see the effects in your life.
Definitely. And I think that not everything is going to work for you. You're just going to have to kind of find your own way of doing things, and those things that work for you. And you don't have to, because I remember there were, in the beginning, I was trying all kinds of these things that thought that were going to make me happy, but they were just not suitable for me. So I think that's about, when you're healing, you kind of have to look for all kinds of things and try out different kind of things to see what works for you.
Yeah, definitely. Like, go on a period of self-discovery and just explore, what do I like knitting? Do I like sewing? Do I like rock climbing? Do I like going out 5 nights a week? Or do I like, staying at home and reading a book? Like, what brings me the most energy and joy?
Yeah. That's kind of, I wouldn't say hard part of healing. I think that's the most interesting part about healing, really discovering who you are. Or at least I really enjoyed that.
Yeah,
just
definitely.
Doing stuff for myself. Yeah.
Once you get going, you can really start to have fun with it and, enjoy the freedom of that.
Yeah, exactly.
I just wanted to circle back to something you said earlier about if the previous narcissist in your life was drawn to you or if he targeted you. And I really feel like narcissists are on like a scale, and I think the very worst are probably just targeting, and the ones that are not so dark are just drawn to people, and they maybe, they're not quite as sinister. So I think there's the variety there, and maybe some of them are aware at certain times and then just acting out of like autopilot and behavioral habits at others.
Yeah, probably.
So did you want to talk about dating?
I don't know.
Well, what I'm interested in, with regard to like having healthy relationships, you mentioned earlier, and this can be any kind of a relationship. You mentioned earlier about, wanting a perfect relationship. What have you found to be, true about that now?
Earlier, excuse me. I changed into a monster suddenly. Well, earlier I would, when I thought that I had really healed, and I would start a relationship with someone, I would think that, okay, there will be no problems whatsoever and everything is just smooth sailing. But that's not really how it works when there are two people trying to, be together and build a life together. And understanding that it's never going to be the case that it's going to be smooth sailing. And actually, that's not really what you want either. I think what perfect and healthy relationship, what it means to me now, what the definition to me is now, is that both people can be who they are in that relationship, and there is that kind of honesty, and like it's psychologically safe for you to be honest about everything. And that's kind of the perfect relationship for me. And what comes to dating, I think what a healthy relationship would mean, that if you're dating someone, especially in the beginning, they are available to you and they are honest to you. Because if I've noticed that sometimes I'm just like making up excuses for the other person, like, well, he doesn't have time, or he's busy at work, or whatever. Nobody is so busy that they're not able to send you a short text message or something. And just when they've read your messages, they can just send you a message to reply, even though if that reply is like, I don't have time for you, I don't have time to write right now, I'll just answer you later or something, or I'll get back to you tonight or something like that. That kind of communication that's open and there, you don't have to wonder about what's going on. That's very important. I think that's like the key for healthy relationship. You don't have to be wondering what the other person is thinking about. Communication and honesty, and then feeling safe enough to be that person that you really are in that relationship. I think that's what a healthy and perfect relationship is for me.
Yeah, that you've just painted such a wonderful picture of that, of two people being whole people with their own. If two people have their own identities, then there's going to be times when you disagree or want different things. But if you have respect and open communication, then that's if you look at the comparison, I mean, what would you rather, if you look at the two kind of relationships styles there, you've got the narcissist who pretends to want the same things as you, or be the same kind of person as you, so it just seems like a relationship where conflict is never going to happen because you just seem to just match. But then when you get into the relationship, you find that you're just matching with them and they're not prepared to match with you.
Definitely.
So I mean, the alternative is to have two people that it might not necessarily be at the beginning that, we match on everything, but we match on enough for us to have a bond and to develop something from there. And then I'm interested to know, have you needed to work on your communication or learn anything there in order to have this different style of relationship where you bring your identity into the relationship?
Definitely. It was, yes. I think I mentioned it before somewhere that I had a friend in my life who came in my life a couple of years after that narcissistic relationship had ended, and he wanted us to be very, very open about things and communicate, and he felt very deeply that he wants to know who I really am. And I wasn't really prepared to open up like that. I felt like it was too dark inside of me for anyone to handle. And he just wouldn't give up. He kept asking, and he kept talking about things, and he was just there. He never went away. And I think it took a while for me to start trusting him, but I did. And there were many times when we were kind of fighting and there was a conflict. He would get frustrated with me not sharing things, and I would feel frustrated that he kept digging even though I was trying to keep him out. But the thing is that the more we started sharing and I started sharing, and the more I kind of told him what I was feeling, the closer we grew, and the less I felt like I had to hide anything from him. And today we have relationship, we're still friends. We have a relationship where he knows all my secrets and I know all of his secrets. And it's an amazing place to be with someone like that, I think. But it was very difficult. But he taught me that a person who is worthy and a person who can handle stuff will handle this stuff. It's not too big for him. So I knew that if I wanted to be in a relationship, I would have to find somebody who was able to handle all of this stuff. Because I knew that I could handle all kinds of stuff, but I wouldn't be able to be in a relationship with someone who couldn't handle this kind of honesty. And I don't know why I would ever be in a relationship with someone who doesn't want to have this kind of honesty where you know all of the other person's secrets and things like this. But it's amazing. I think I think he reads my mind now, which is kind of scary.
That's what all best friends do.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very nice. But yeah, it was very difficult for me. It took me a very long time to be able to share all those kind of darkest things. And I don't know if I'm oversharing now when I'm telling all my story all over the internet.
No, well, we can always cut, but I've definitely, I can relate. You've not actually said what the dark things are, but other than feeling a kind of depression and feeding that, it's like continuing the abuse that the narcissist continually sends us the message through their behavior that we're not worthy of love and that we're not good enough and that there's something wrong with us. And then even after a relationship, we can just continue that cycle. And so when you continue that cycle, you're going to go to some dark places and they're not going to be very nice.
No, not very nice. No, I was depressed for quite a while. I was in all kinds of dark places for a while. But I think a lot of it was me being also physically exhausted from the relationship, because I was trying so hard all the time and always overriding my own needs. So that was kind of the first thing that I had to do. I had to rest and start from there. You can't make good decisions if you are exhausted. It's just not possible.
Yeah, that's true. It is just an incredibly draining, emotionally vampiric experience of, I have nothing left. How am I going to rebuild myself? Because my very essence has been destroyed.
Yeah.
So there's definitely that sort of incubation period where you really need to sort of take your time and take it slow.
Definitely.
But you've shown that it comes back.
Yeah, definitely. But you have to be willing to go to those dark places and do the work, I think.
Yeah.
That's the key. And just believing that you will be happy. Not knowing how to be happy, that's not what you have to do in the beginning, but just believing that you will be happy. And that's kind of at least what I had, that I understood that, okay, if I just keep working on it, one day I will be happy.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And just hearing or seeing that it's possible for other people, it can be possible for you as well.
Yeah, exactly. And everyone is worthy of being happy and being loved, no matter what a narcissist tells you.
But what an incredible experience you had with your persistent friend who really did want to get to know you and find out the real Katarina. I had a similar experience with someone who was very persistent and did a lot of volunteering in the community and was always inviting me to volunteering events. And I'm like, why? I don't want to go. I don't want to socialize. Like, there's going to be narcissists there. They're going to try and latch on to me. I'm going to lose my energy if I'm social, because I'd associated, being with other people, even though it was just that one person, with just being drained. And it took a while to realize that actually other relationships are mutually giving, and you're not just going to be drained and left like completely void of any energy. So yeah. And I think that a narcissist can come into our life, but it's it's equally valid that someone so beneficial to our life can come into our life literally at any moment. Like, we never know when that's going to happen. And so if we can be open to that, not to completely shut ourselves off, and to continue to live a life within the community that's right for us, we can allow those opportunities to come to us, because they do. Not every single person you meet in your life is going to be a narcissist.
No, most likely not.
Yeah. So you talked about being aware of your previous patterns as you build relationships with other people. Is there anything that you purposely do in order to really maintain the healthy relationship that you've developed with yourself and with others?
Yes, I do many things, but the most important thing that I do is I really, really, really listen to my own emotions and my feelings, and how I feel about people, and how I feel about things, and how I feel about how somebody is treating me, and how I feel about how I am treating others. So that's kind of a constant discussion that I'm having with myself all the time, because I know that I have to be the source of good in my life, and I have to kind of have that understanding of what is beneficial for me. And when I am confident about that, then I can confidently be with other people, showing them that they are important parts of my life and that I want to be an important part of their lives. I think that was, you said something like having a balanced relationship with other people, that it's possible to be mutually beneficial and make that energy grow instead of draining it from you. And I think that's something that I really look for in my relationships. And I think that I think I'm pretty good at it now. My friends are awesome. They're just beautiful people, and they bring out such good energy, and there's such good energy. And it doesn't mean that they're not allowed to have bad days. That's not what I'm saying, but I think it's about understanding that they are kind of not in that kind of a mindset that they want to stay negative or something like that, that they kind of have the same mindset about life and the feeling about life, that life is good, even though things that are not so good happen to them, but they just keep moving forward. I think that's kind of, those are the people that I want to have in my life, and that's the kind of person that I want to be. So I think that's kind of important, to look at your relationships and see whether those people are the kind of people that you want in your life.
That's so amazing. It's so powerful. And also the fact that you say that, you know, you're doing this on a regular basis, you're continuing to ask these questions, because by doing that, you are, you know, keeping a check on what you are allowing into your life.
Yeah. I think we're all responsible for that, what we let in our lives, and also what we kind of give out. So you have to really be aware of that kind of energy that you are giving out as well. And I think the best way to do that is to do that every day, to stay present in the moment. It's so easy to start living in the past or living in the future when that's not what we have here in the present moment. So you have to be kind of connected to the present moment, and then understand that what you want out of life is really about that one moment that you have.
That's so true. It's easier said than done.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, definitely.
It's so funny. I'm like, oh, what question shall I ask next? And you're like, it's important to be in the present moment. I'm like, okay, breathe, be in the present moment.
I know it's so difficult doing these kind of interviews when you're trying to concentrate on what the other people or other person is saying, and then I'm like, oh, I lost my train of thought.
Yeah, and it's also one of those things, like if you ever listen or look back onto a conversation, you're like, why didn't I say this, or why didn't I say that?
Yeah.
Oh well. But yeah, I think just to kind of piggyback onto your point about having that analysis and asking those really good questions, you know, I feel like the quality of the questions you ask yourself is probably so much different now to how it was when you was in the relationship with the narcissist.
Yes. When I was in that relationship or any other unhealthy relationship I had, I was always wondering, what did I do wrong, or what was going on? And how can I fix it for them? When now it's more about, well, I have the responsibility over the energy I give out and the person that I am and the way I treat other people. And then if somebody matches up to that they treat me the way that I treat them, then there's going to be relationship. Earlier it was more about how can I be that kind of person that they want to be with, or it was more about them and pleasing them, when now it's about, well, I'm fine on my own, and if somebody comes along, then they have to match that kind of mindset and behavior and respect.
It sounds like you've really developed into being a great gatekeeper.
Yeah, well, yeah.
You know, just like we have the virus software on the computer, it's like, no, you can't open that file, and you have to close this one, and you're like every day, like, you know, doing that analysis. Is this good? Does this feel good? You know, is this an equal balance? If it's not in balance, then, you know, red flag. What should we do? You know, should we communicate, or should we like delete, eject relationship?
Definitely, exactly. And sometimes it's like, okay, let's communicate, but no, okay, it's not working out, just delete.
Yeah it's all very well to work on communication, but at a certain point we can realize that communication, it only goes so far when there's two people in a relationship. So and actually, you know, when I asked that question about your communication, and you said, well, you know, you had this friend that was literally pulling communication out of you, what is your relationship with communicating your needs and who you are like now after having that experience? Is it coming easier to you?
Yes, definitely. Definitely. And I think it has changed, and I have changed. I think people know that they can be very honest with me. I am very direct with people. I am very straightforward. I do not like any kind of, you know, wobbly stuff. I don't like those kind of feelings that I don't know what's going on. I'd rather discuss, and I think people really sense that. A lot of people come to me and they tell me, it's the first time that I'm meeting them, and they tell me very, very personal stuff. And I think that has kind of changed. I think they realize that, first of all, I can handle it, and second of all, there's no other way to be with me than just being honest. And I think that a lot of people feel very safe to be honest with me because I am so honest. So that has definitely changed. It's very easy to communicate with me because I communicate so much, if that makes kind of like sense. But that's what I've kind of noticed.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That's incredible. I think that people are able to sense somehow, or they're attracted to someone that has, you know, worked on their own stuff and has been able to, you know, face dark times, because then they can feel comfortable just, you know, bringing their whole self to the relationship as well.
Exactly. Yeah. I've definitely noticed that too. Earlier I was so closed from everyone else. There was like a kind of like a curtain here or something that was blocking who I really am from everyone else. And once that was kind of lifted, everyone can see that I'm very honest and I communicate, and I also appreciate that from other people. I don't have time for, you know, kind of BS, you know. I don't have time for it. You can do that with some other person, but I just don't have time for it anymore. So
let's say there is some BS. How does the you today handle that? these days?
I would say in those kind of situations, I let those people go somewhere else and do what they're doing somewhere else. I mean, you're wonderful, but you can be wonderful somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
and I'm very straightforward and direct with that. I can tell other people that what you're doing, I'm not interested in this kind of behavior. I just tell them directly.
With those words.
Yeah.
Because this is one thing I struggled with. Okay, I know I don't want certain things in my life anymore, but when they happen, I don't know how I'm going to stop it.
Yeah. That can be very difficult.
Yeah. And I do get that feeling from you that you are no nonsense and that you're not going to take it. But I'm wondering what that looks like.
Yeah, well, that's what it looks like. I mean, I have
just direct communication.
I'm not being angry about it. I just understand that person has a different way of living their life than what I want. So it's just easier for me and for them as well that I tell them, well, this is not something I'm interested in. If you want to be in my life, then you have to be very honest and you have to communicate, because that's the way I live my life and that's the way I feel is best. I mean, I understand that some people are not ready to share all of their things and secrets and stuff like that right away, and that's not kind of what I'm expecting, but I'm expecting kind of this kind of honest behavior, respectful behavior from others. And if that's not what I'm getting, then I'm just gonna have to tell them that I'm not interested in this what you are doing here.
Do you mean like someone sharing their humanness with you, their whole self, and including their vulnerabilities? Because that's something a narcissist, they don't really, unless they're a vulnerable narcissist, they don't really share, you know, their true insecurities or, you know, their challenges in life. Really and truly from the heart. They're not able to connect in that way.
Yeah. I think a lot of people, when they feel safe, they are able to do that. But it kind of requires that you create that safe space together. And a lot of times it's me who kind of starts this conversation. Like it goes something like, well, I'm getting this kind of feeling from you that there's something, could it be something like this? And then usually that kind of opens the door and they start telling me what's going on.
Like a certain feeling from them that they might be feeling sad or anxious or angry or something's going on.
Yeah.
You just call it out.
Yeah, I think it's so simple, really. Like you have to be present in the moment, see what they're feeling, kind of, or what do you see or feel what they're feeling. We're really good at that. It's just that we just don't pay attention. I think that can be the problem. And then just asking. I think it's really that simple. Just asking. And sometimes they're not ready to share, and then I just say that, okay, well, I'm here for you when you're ready to share. I'm not going anywhere. Pretty much what that friend of mine did to me.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Wow. Isn't that amazing? So you had that like modeled in your life, and now you've really taken, you know, the good bits that he brought into the relationship and gone, that's actually, you know how much that helped you. So being able to lend a hand and extend that to other people.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
And I've actually told him that. I told him that, do you know that you taught me this, that like asking, but then giving space is what you did. And you did that repeatedly, so that I felt that, okay, it is safe for me to open up And that's what I do now, and that works.
Yeah, what a transformation. It's like
Definitely.
the little reminders, like, hi, how are you? Like, how are you really?
Yeah.
I'm still here, giving you space. And then a bit later, same thing. Hi. When you're ready.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
And it's what really strikes me from that is how, you know, you spoke about really wanting to receive that love and possibly connection from the unhealthy relationship, and how from the work that you have done on yourself, you are now receiving that connection.
Yeah. Exactly. It's amazing. Like when you're desperately wanting something, but you haven't worked on yourself first, then it leads kind of to these unhealthy relationships. But when you work on yourself, it suddenly appears.
Yeah.
Well, not suddenly, okay, it took a while, but but it's really about respecting who you are, and showing yourself respect and that love, and then receiving it from others.
Yeah. And when you spoke about, you know, the affirmation work that you did in the mirror, I've, you know, done a lot of affirmation work myself. And I remember when I first started, I literally couldn't bring myself to say the positive things. I was just like, I couldn't. So I would set it up with, even though I feel like this isn't true, like a part of me feels like it isn't true, I'm open to believing that. And I would kind of gently ease my way into it. So I think if someone's like, okay, this transformation sounds amazing, but like I can't start, then that would be a really great way for them to, you know, accept their current situation, even though I have no idea what to do. I'm open to, you know, feeling better about myself. Whatever it is, just make it up as you go along, because it's going to be better than what you've already been telling yourself in order to feel bad.
Yeah, I think that's perfect what you were saying. A lot of the times we kind of feel, at least I did feel when I was really depressed and feeling like this can't go on, I thought that I have to jump into that kind of perfect life where everything is beautiful, when in fact it was very, very small steps that I had to take. Such as you said, like I didn't believe the affirmations in the beginning either, but I decided that I will just keep telling myself and pretend that I believe it, and even pretending that I believed it made me feel a little bit better. And when I kept doing that, just saying those affirmations, I really, really did start to believe them. And I didn't have to pretend like I believed them. But you are so right about that, taking those kind of baby steps. First, when I was thinking about, well, what do I like? I was really, really taking these small steps. Like taking myself out for coffee, things like that, when I want to the place that I want to, and just listening to that I want to do. That was kind of that. But they were very small things. And sometimes I had days when I couldn't get out of bed, and I would think that I am so tired and exhausted and so depressed, there is nothing I can do for myself. And then I would think that I can get a glass of water and have a glass of water. And if that's the only thing that I can do, then I should celebrate that. And I would celebrate that, just having that glass of water. And I think that is so good for me. I know that having water is good for me. And this is something I do for myself today. So it doesn't have to be huge. You just have to kind of notice all of those things that you really are doing for yourself, no matter how small.
Yeah. And you know, there's that saying, you know, it's the small things that matter in a relationship, but that's even true, you know, with ourselves. And that's why, you know, you talk about it being a continued practice every day. Yeah.
And I think there are a lot of things that I was talking to one of my clients about, was feeling very, very sad about the fact that she was unable to get out of bed for an entire weekend. And she said that I just switched my phone off and I was there in the darkness for the entire weekend. I am such a sad person and my life is so depressing and I'm so depressed I will never get out. And what I said to her was like, you are looking at this in all the wrong ways. That's what somebody else has told you, that this is a negative thing, that you are just isolating yourself. I think it's a positive thing because you were clearly tired and you really, really took the time and made it possible for yourself to take that rest for an entire weekend without anyone interfering with it, calling you or sending you messages. So she was like, yeah, I didn't think of it that way. And I said, well, your body is really good at telling you what you need. So if you need to rest, then rest. And you don't have to feel bad about it. You don't have to feel bad about anything that you're doing when you're really, really healing. And when you're doing the work, you have to understand that sometimes doing the work means you're isolating for entire weekend to rest.
Mm-hmm. That's really amazing. Just, it can often be what we're telling ourselves about what's going on or what it means about us that actually does the damage, when actually just spending a weekend in bed in and of itself isn't damaging. It can be really restorative. It depends what story we put on the experience that we've had.
Exactly.
So yeah, that's really amazing. And I think we can even, like she spent the weekend telling herself that story, but we can go back in time in our mind and change our mind even about past events. It is possible to do that. Oh, well, I thought I was doing this, but actually no, like now I can see that there were benefits in doing that for me.
Yeah, I definitely do that. Because I was talking about that depression I had, and I felt so embarrassed about it. I don't know why I would feel embarrassed about it, but then I realized actually that most of it was just me being exhausted and tired after the relationship. So I think that took me like 10 years or something to understand that I wasn't necessarily depressed. I was feeling depressed, yes, but I was mostly tired. So and there was nothing wrong with me. I think my body was just making it out to be like depression so that I would take the time to rest, which I did.
Yeah, actually,
so yeah, you're definitely right.
If you look at the word depressed, it has deep rest.
Yeah. I know. Yeah.
Wow, thank you for sharing so much of your story with us. It's just been so powerful, and like you've really painted a picture of that transformation. And as you continue to keep doing the healthy habits that you do, then things will just continue to go in a positive, happy, healthy, healing way for you. So that's amazing. And thank you for sharing that also, it's also evident in, I've connected to you on Instagram and I see you sharing your posts and stories and sharing your positivity, and it shows that when you're doing that work for yourself, that you have so much of it that it's just a joy for you to share it with others. So that's really amazing.
Definitely. Yeah, I think we're all so amazing and fantastic, and there are stuff that has happened to us that just kind of get in the way of us shining that beautiful, true inner being that we have inside of us. And if me writing a book about my experiences about healing can help someone work off some of that stuff on top of their beautiful inner being, then it's worth giving it out to the world. And I really think you're doing the same in many ways, that you doing this work is really helping. It's really helping the world to become a better place, because you are helping people to work off all that stuff that they've been through, so that they can really shine that light of that inner being that they truly are, and contribute to this world as the people that they truly are. So
thank you. That is I guess my vision and my plan is that the more people that share their experience of healing from narcissistic abuse, I have this like visual in my head of us all being dotted around the globe, and like each person that is on this healing journey, there's almost like a light that goes on, and then if you can imagine like all the lights or all the hands like around the world that are on a very similar journey, or have been on that journey and are still on that journey, because like you've really shown, it is just such a work in progress. Like when we've experienced that level of psychological brainwashing, we really need to be, you know, reprogramming our mind on a daily basis anyway, whether you've experienced this or not. But I think if you have, it's even more important to do that. So yeah, I just see that, you know, the more people that do it, the more people that will be attracted and enabled and supported in doing it. So
I think that's a very beautiful visual that you just gave us. That now I have to start thinking about that myself. But yeah, definitely. One thing I wonder though, that how are you like doing when you're listening to these stories? Does it ever get hard for you?
Yes. I think in some ways there's something that takes over me when I work with a client where, you know, I'll give you the example of my star sign. I'm a Pisces, which is very sensitive and watery, and but my moon sign is Taurus, which is very stubborn. That's me too, but very grounded and quite strong. And I just feel like when I'm working with a client that strength kind of comes through. So sometimes when I work with clients, I only work with audio. I don't have the video on, and I think it works well for me, and it works well, I think, for a client as well. I know that's how I worked with my mentor, and I, you know, loved that I could have therapy when I was in my pajamas. I just thought it was fantastic. And and sometimes I do cry, you know, during the process of people releasing their emotions and, you know, going into that space. You know, I will kind of get teared up, but, you know, it's just a practice. I don't think that's a bad thing. I just do a lot of clearing work with them. And I think that when you are empathetic and sensitive and you've experienced narcissistic abuse and healed from it, then, you know, that empathy is such a gift to be able to really put yourself or understand what that other person is experiencing and kind of sit with them in that moment and just allow their healing to take place. I just think it's just such a beautiful thing. And I often find that I'm really energized after the sessions, and the healing actually works both ways. When, you know, someone comes in and they have a fear of abandonment, or they're struggling with boundaries, or whatever it is, and we do a hypnotherapy session, I've been amazed at the effects on my own life through taking someone else through the process. So like, even I've been working a lot on boundaries with one client in particular. And I remember after the session, I had a phone call with a work person was coming to our house to do a quote. And I remember answering the phone and he was like, oh, I'm from this company. And I was so direct with him because I know that in certain situations, I don't want to lead with my sensitivity. I want to, have that energy and kind of like that assertion of, this is who I am, this is what I want, this is an exchange of services, And so I was just like, okay, well, I'm busy at this time, so you'll need to be done by this time. And, you're going to need to be quiet because my husband's going to be asleep at that time. And he was like, oh, right, okay. And I was just like, I put the phone down and I was like, I was so direct and assertive. So
you know what, you made it easy for them as well, because you told like this is what I need.
Like, and he, he could plan his day, knew exactly what, how to fit me into his schedule that was good for me. And I was like, oh my God. So
versus him coming over and not knowing about your husband being asleep and stuff like that, and then you being annoyed that
and it just kind of being awkward and or like sometimes there's something and you're like, this kind of works for me but it doesn't, and like, shall I communicate that or not, or shall I just hope that it works out? Like, and sometimes that does happen where I don't communicate and I just kind of hope for the best, but then you have those moments where you're so clear and you're like, oh but I also think that working with clients, I don't want to say it forces you to keep working on yourself, but if I have a client, I will 100% take the time to just go and meditate and be completely still by the ocean, like at some point before the session. And I do meditate and do guided meditations, but I guess I just take it a lot more seriously when I know that I am seeing a client. So, I think as well, like, when you've done the healing, some of the healing work, it is a work in progress. The benefits of going into the emotions, and like what the transformation is going to be. So there's like this element of excitement as well. So I guess it's it's just kind of finding the balance, but so far so good. Like, I've not been bawling my eyes out or anything.
And that's okay too.
But like, there needs to be one person that's grounded,
Yeah, that's true. But do you ever face I'm asking you now all the questions because I'm interested. Do you ever face this kind of situation that that the person isn't ready to move forward on the healing journey? Like, they just want to stay in that kind of negative mindset or something, and they are not just healing. They're not ready for it.
I've not had an experience with a client yet where they've been sort of like stubbornly wanting to stay in the negative. And I'm hoping that that's because they're not going to be attracted to me, but at some point this challenge is going to come up, and I guess I would observe, like, I would just give them that observation, like, I'm noticing that there's a part of you that has made this a kind of habit, or maybe there's a benefit in this. What do you think the benefit of this is? Because there are, we're always trying to do the best with what we have and what we know, and
that's
even
true.
our negative behaviors often have a positive intention. So, there could be a variety of reasons why someone wants to stay negative, and it could be a self-protection, like, I don't want to get my hopes up because they've been squashed so many times in the past. And then we have a direction we can go to, okay, well, what happened in that event? And then, you know, using hypnotherapy, you can work on that event and kind of unpacking it a little bit and looking at what really happened, because like, you know, we've discovered you can have a story around what happened or a perception around what happened, and maybe take some things personally and carry things that weren't yours in that situation, and then kind of realizing what happened, and then, okay, well, now we've resolved that situation. What did you learn? What would you like learn and take from that? And then now like looking at how that perception changes where you are today. And you tend to find that by that kind of process that there's shifts happening.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I know that I was, for a very long time, I was in those kind of negative mindsets, and I wasn't able to find my way out. And then I realized after a while that was so safe for me to be in that kind of negative mindset, because I was so used to it, that I guess that's why I wanted to stay there. And it took me a very long time to I knew I wanted to be happy, but I didn't think it was possible. So that's why maybe I was just feeling so safe in the negative thought patterns and stuff like that.
Yeah. Also, like, I guess we really have to want to change, because I think we're just wired to survive, you know. We're not wired to do personal development unless it's something we choose or want to do. Like, I think that we still have a really large animalistic primal, like, as much as we've developed into being a civilized society and we wear clothes and, you know, we have job titles and, you know, we conduct ourselves in a certain way for the most part. Like, I think there's still a very, you know, subconscious primal part that we're not always aware of.
Yeah. And then we're always learning kind of what our environment is telling us about how to behave. And I think we don't really question that enough. We question things like, well, if you think about what has been happening for the past, 10 years, like the Me Too movement and stuff like this, or can you say movement or whatever?
Yeah.
And those kind of things, like, this is 2020 and we're questioning this now. I think it's
questioning what now? Questioning
like that kind of behavior.
Yeah.
I think it's strange that we are so used to it being normal behavior that we're questioning it now. And I think that's going to happen with in the coming years. It's going to happen with these kind of mental health issues. We're talking about it more now.
Yeah.
And we're talking about normalizing that.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I think we're going to start talking about normalizing being happy and free of all of that. And that's kind of, I think that's going to be a shift in the future. I mean, there are mental health issues, but that shouldn't be normal to be depressed all the time. I think that's not a normal way to be.
Yeah, I guess we like kind of need to normalize it to then work through it, to then move on.
Exactly.
Yeah, and talking about it is part of that process.
Definitely. I think it's very important that we're talking about it, but I think that the change will come where we start to normalize being happy and talking nicely to ourselves rather than negative self-talk, which is kind of normal. At least for me, it has been normal all my life.
Yeah. Like, you know, I don't know, say you drive the wrong way and then you say to yourself, oh, I'm such an idiot.
Yeah.
Like, that's just considered normal.
Yeah.
And I catch myself doing that, and then I re-talk to myself and say, I'm not an idiot. Like, I just went the wrong way.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's just the wrong way.
Yeah. Exactly. I heard a coach once say, like, when someone else they were in the presence of someone else and they said something like, I'm such an idiot, to themselves. And the other person said to them, don't talk to me like that. And they were like, I'm not talking to you, I'm talking to me. And then they went, exactly. Like, I'm me.
Yeah, that's smart.
Yeah. One other thing I was curious about is whether you had periods of being single or, you know, a decent amount of time alone, and what you did or learned or benefited from in regards to that time.
I have been single for very long periods of time. And when I really, really understood that I have to work on myself and not be in a relationship with anyone, so that I was kind of feeling like other people were affecting my growth or my self-discovery or something like that. I didn't want anyone interfering it, so I was single for a very long time. And I kind of felt like it was very important for me to just think about what I want and what I need and what feels good to me and what I want to do, and not ask anyone else's opinion or not have anyone else's schedule to look at, or not to ask anyone else what they want to do or what they want to eat or where they want to go, or do they want to go with me or whatever, you know, these kind of things that are nice in a relationship as well. I really, really like being in a relationship. I think being in a relationship is wonderful, and especially if you're in a relationship with someone who you can grow with and really kind of explore that, who you are and who they are, and how that life is going to unfold for the two in the relationship. And that is really something I enjoy. But especially after the relationship with the narcissist, I kind of jumped from one relationship to another, and I was looking for that kind of feeling loved.
We're in the club.
yeah, exactly. And they were always ending up in bad ways. Wonder why. And then there were many men, not many men, but like a couple of men who all kind of hurt me in the same way. And I decided that, okay, if that's all there is for me at the moment, then maybe it's better to be alone. And then I started really working on myself and looking at what I want and what I need and things like this. And I think that was very, very important. And that's what I would say to anyone who has been in that kind of abusive relationships, to really be with yourself in the beginning. Just be with yourself, because first of all, it's easier when you are, it's not easy, but it's easier when you only have to think about yourself. And if you're with someone, it can be very hard on them, which can then come back to you and, you know, add on to your stress. And I was lucky that I found that friend of mine who is very supportive, and that kind of helped me. But it wasn't a relationship. So yeah, I think being single is very important. You can have people around you, but you can't be in a relationship if you want to heal and if you want to rebuild your identity after that kind of abusive relationship.
Yeah, I can really relate to that as well. I went from relationship to relationship and then sort of carried the baggage of each one into the next relationship.
Yeah.
And it kind of got messier and messier. And then I did take some time out, but I didn't really know. I knew how to get over the relationships by this stage, but I didn't know how to change my relationship with myself and my feelings and my insecurities and all this stuff. So yeah, I'm so glad that you mentioned, you know, the power of being single. And also I did have times when I was dating when I knew that this might not be the right thing, but I think if we can really take that awareness of ourselves into any experience, whether we're single or dating or in a relationship, then we are protecting ourselves from really losing ourselves in any kind of relationship.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if you have any, people always ask this in interviews, and I kind of freak out a bit when I hear it, because they're like, what wonderful wise words have you got to leave the listener? And you're like, that is so much pressure. You literally put like the lifetime of wisdom that you have got and you have accumulated, and now I'm going to say there is this one question and you have to, you know, deliver.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you that question.
Oh, thank you. That's so nice.
I just wonder, like, is there anything else that you want to add, or what you would, you know, say to someone who's maybe starting out, or anything you want to leave us with?
Well, I think it's what we've been talking about, that I just want to say one more time is that work on the relationship with yourself first, and figure out who you are first, and take care of yourself first. Because when you are doing all of that, you will realize that bit by bit, your entire life is changing for the better, and your relationships are changing for the better. And then at some point, somebody worthy of you is going to come along, and you will have a perfect relationship full of honesty and communication, and that kind of where you can grow together with that person. So it's really worth taking the time with yourself first, and not jumping into other relationships in the beginning, at least in the beginning of the journey.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that. Very wise words. Don't laugh.
Thank you. I've had so much
fun. So where can people find you to get more doses of inspiration and wisdom and healing tips?
Well, I am in Instagram, and then also in LinkedIn with my name, Katarina Esko. And that's where I'm at the moment. And I don't know what's to come in the future.
Okay. That's a great starting point.
Yeah, it's a good starting point.
So we need to get on Instagram if we're not already, and check out Katarina Esko. I'm already a big fan of your page and the things that you're sharing. So
likewise,
it's very empowering. I look forward to seeing more in the future as well. Thank you so much for joining us today, and
thanks for having me.
Experience.
So much fun.
My pleasure.
Thank you for watching. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and be sure to subscribe so that you're notified every time I upload a new weekly video. If you head on over to revelationtherapy.com, I've also created a few free resources for you to help you on your healing journey. There's currently a free workbook and a checklist, and I'm adding to those all the time. So be sure to check those out. I'll leave the link in the description below. And if you have any questions at all, you can find me on most social media channels at Revelation Therapy. For now, sending you so many positivities to help you on your healing journey, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.